Hello business owners and investors. My name is Jason Norp with KW Commercial, and here we talk about all things related to commercial real estate and investing. I'm in the Boise, Idaho market, and so many of the things I'm going to talk about here will apply to your market also. Today we're going to talk about different types of leases, and I'm going to talk about them both from a landlord's perspective and a tenant's perspective, because both are important as we discuss what those leases mean to everybody that's involved in the transaction. We'll talk about some pros and cons of each and a little bit of information about them. First, let's talk about full-service leases. Full-service lease typically means that all of your costs are encompassed into one payment. So taxes, insurance on the property, utilities, maybe janitorial, all those things are lumped into one big payment. It makes it kind of simple, cut and dried for a tenant. They know, hey, I'm paying X number of dollars each month. I don't have any additional cost to that. The second common type of lease is what we call a modified gross lease. So a modified gross lease starts to separate some of these costs. So you're going to have a base rent, and then usually utilities are an additional cost to that. Those utilities may be metered separately, or you maybe billed them from the landlord. Those utility costs are usually a second cost that you pay. The third common type of lease here in our market is what we call a triple net lease. The triple nets, or the three N's or nets, represent some additional costs to that lease that are separated. So we have base rent, and then the three nets represent taxes, insurance, and common area maintenance costs. And then utilities are going to also be an additional cost to that. So in that triple net lease, we see the most cost segregation, where those costs are being separated out so that you see them as a tenant and as a landlord, and then you're paying those usually in a lump sum to the landlord on a monthly basis. So what are some of the benefits of these different leases? As we talked about, that full service lease or modified gross lease, real simple. We know that here's my cost, here's what I'm going to pay. The modified gross lease, that kind of middle lease where we see some cost segregation, it's nice from a tenant perspective. We feel like, okay, maybe this is a better place to be at. We don't have to pay extra for taxes, insurance, and common area maintenance. It's all grouped into our lease. The reality is, those costs are there anyways. Your landlord has just had to make some estimates on those costs. Maybe you put a little bit of margin of error in there. You're still paying them in your base rent. While many tenants worry, hey, a triple net lease, I feel like I'm paying extra costs. My recommendation, I think that through that cost segregation, you get the best chance at paying the lowest rate, because you're seeing all those costs as they are. At the end of the year, you're going to get cost reconciliation typically from your landlord on a triple net lease, and you're going to get to pay what those costs actually are instead of some marked up amount. So, in review, three types of lease typically we're dealing with: full service, or often called a gross lease, a modified gross lease, and a triple net lease. Now, the vocabulary in those leases can push around all types of terms, so make sure you read those leases carefully, have a lawyer review them, get advice on what you're getting yourself into. Make sure you make good decisions, and as landlords, make sure you protect yourself. That's what those leases are there to do, to make a good relationship between a tenant and landlord, one that's going to allow both to have good business and good returns on what they've invested in. Again, my name is Jason Norp with KW Commercial. If you're in the Boise, Idaho market, feel free to look me up. Thanks.